Facebook page as well if you want to follow in and see if we can't what kind of hits we can get off of this. So anyway, hey guys, welcome back to noteCAMP 4.0. We are at over halfway through day 2, but we're excited for this session. We've got 5 characters joining us for the next hour, 15 minutes, and they're here on their Friday. It is Friday. Yes, Friday. It's 5 o'clock, Papa Top, sometime wherever they're at. But we brought these guys on to help share kind of their knowledge. We've got guys that have done it for several years, guys that have done it for a year. And I wanted to have a good broad experience level for all of you that are watching out there, whether you're watching it on the Facebook Lives or you're watching it live here at noteCAMP 4.0 or the replays, to be able to kind of see see these guys, different experience levels, kind of what they went through. Some of these guys are still working full-time. Some are now full-time note investors. And everybody's got a little bit different story. That's what I love. You guys all have a little bit different business model. So what I thought I'd first started off with is turn it over to, let's go by the guy with the least amount of hair and have you introduce yourself, and we'll work our way to, well, you got hair on your chinny chin chin and your chops there, Adam. So we'll start off with the senior statesman of their group here, Mr. Cody Cox. So if you'll share where you're at, your background, and kind of your note history.
Well, I've been a part of your mastermind here for about a year now. And so I've really, for the most part, been trading notes earnestly for about a year. But I do have a full-time job. And so obviously the effects of a full-time job impact how much I can do on a given night. So I've been in the mortgage industry for 35 years. And so that, in a lot of ways, kind of gives me a unique perspective on what the mortgage industry is all about, and of course with trading notes. I also ran a RIA here in Portland, Oregon here for about 4 or 5 years. And so that gives me a pretty good background on the real estate investing industry as a whole. But currently my full-time job is I run a major mortgage company for a state agency here in the state of Oregon. So I'm in charge of originations. I also am in charge of a servicing portfolio of about $301 million worth of loans that are just under 2,000 loans. And so, for all intents and purposes, I think I'm kind of uniquely positioned for this. And it's just a matter of me going through the transition of, finding a way to escape the day job into something to do this note trading full time.
And so for the last year, how many notes have you closed so far, Cody? Whether you funded
I think
them?
I'm into 15, 16, somewhere in there. So okay. I just funded one just this last Wednesday. So.
Cool, awesome, good job. So that's great because you're working full time. So that's you got your numbers, you're rocking through it. We'll go from there. So let's go above him. Who I'm seeing next is Mr. Adam Adams, Mr. Fu Manchu. There, Adam, why don't you share a little bit about those that may not have heard or know who you guys are?
AJA Investments. Got the shirts now. So.
That makes you official now that you've got a shirt now, okay?
Well, the J is my wife, Jen. Adam. That's how we came up with it. But we come from apartments. Still have 140 units. Hopefully we sell those next spring. But, kind of moved into notes. I think it's a lot. I can play more in the note world. Apartments are pretty tight. But I've been having fun in notes. We've been buying notes for, I don't know, year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
Today is number 67. And then I throw in some that I'm a JV on, so that's probably about 70.
Yeah. Just closed on a trade today, was that too?
Yeah, I saw a couple of my partners in the participants, Mr. Lambert and Mr. Chance. I haven't checked the rolls lately, but I saw you two guys there.
Yeah, and that was direct from a bank portfolio out of San Antonio, correct?
31 notes to San Antonio. They're all from a San Antonio bank. They're non-performing. We have about 13 performing notes, but they all have balloons on them. So they're gotta get some kind of resolution pretty soon. So that's kind of I like these balloons. They're kind of like a stick for that carrot,
Yeah.
Perform and we get rid of the balloon. I've already got a couple of hedge funds that want to buy the notes once they're performing. So
cool, awesome. And your big thing is you've got a sugar mama, but you are really great at systems, which there's nothing wrong with that. I think most of us guys wish we had a sugar mama at some point, but that's fine.
Mr. Stacy over here. He's got one too.
That's right. And we'll lead into him next. So we got Stacy Wall, top out of the Maryland market. Adam is out of the Dallas, Fort Worth area. Cody Cox is out of the Portland, Oregon area. You're out of Hagerstown, Maryland. Is that correct?
Frederick, Maryland.
Frederick, Maryland. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, right next door.
Right next door, exactly. So, and you've been for right about a year now too, but left retired, and dove kind of head first into real estate. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Right. I did a semi-retirement, I guess, last year, about a month ago. So it's been about almost a full year. We started the notes, got into it when we saw you at the RIA in Hagerstown, and we've been on a roll. So we've gone through and purchased. We're at 39 notes now, 9 of which we're partners in that we're financing. But it's been a good ride. So we're really enjoying this.
Right. And wife is still working. Karen's still working full time. Top secret. We can't tell you.
No, she's the sugar mama. So we got to let her go.
Nothing wrong with that as well. And your background is you come from the retail side. You used to have to go in and deal with distressed kind of Bed Bath and Beyonds, right?
Correct.
You were the Beyond part of that, right?
Bed Bath and Beyonds and fix them up. We also did some other fix and flips on our own.
Right.
Yes, way beyond. And then we did the fix and flips and found you and got into the notes.
Awesome, good stuff there. Well, we'll drop down to our New Jersey boy, Mr. Dave Putz. Dave, you've been in no investing for quite a few years, doing some stuff, but you're still working full time as well, though, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Health benefits are expensive in the country, so we still work to keep the health benefits and make things happen.
Yeah. How many deals have you done in so far? Because you've been in this for what, 5-6 years? How long? He goes back away.
I started personally buying, I think 2012, 2013, started out slowly and jumped in quicker in last year, probably around 24, 25 deals in the last year.
Nice.
And we're bidding on another, 15 right now, actually. So we're going towards some, in New Jersey, it's just different. It is nice to be local, but so some of the deals we get, people don't look at. But I started out basically evaluating tapes, getting in dirty and finding out values. Learn by doing, learn my own mistakes, and made things happen. Grew what I could, start my own little meetup, and try helping other ones do the same thing we're doing now. Grow some JV partners, do 401ks, do some self-directed stuff, all kinds of different things. But my background, I did landlording, and I couldn't stand it, got threatened. I also did some fix and flips, and it's just not for me. So when I got into the paper business, it was a lot easier for me, and I like helping people. So
good stuff. And you're working. Where are you working at right now? Because you still got a job. What line of work is that in?
I'm in the state. I've actually worked for the government, state of New Jersey. So if I told you I had to kill you, kind of thing. But yeah, I work for the government still, which is really comfortable for me. I can take a lot of time off if I need. Thank you, taxpayers. But I also I can get on the phone a lot. So people who are working right now who need to get into these things, you can do it. I mean, that's one of the biggest things I push people to do is you can do this while you're working full time, at nights, during the day, making phone calls. Like Adam said before, creating a system is your biggest adventure here. Just get the system going and you can really automate a lot of things. Values you can't automate, and contacting agents you can't automate, but a lot of stuff you can automate.
Awesome. Good stuff. And that takes us to the last guy wearing a blue shirt and new glasses, looking quite dapper Dan there, Mr. Wayne, is our buddy Wayne Snell out of the you're Dallas, Colorado now? Where's home for you, buddy?
I'm still in Dallas.
I mean, hasn't remarried yet, but anyway. Wayne is closed on with the help of Natalie's business partner. You closed on over 300 notes now? Is that correct?
Right. We actually we just sold off a bit, but we're still over 300. I think we're at 312. I just bought today 5 new assets, so nowhere near as much as Adam closed on, but still we're moving forward.
Right. But let's talk a little about your background, because you were working 80 plus, 70 plus hours a week, a lot of international travel too. And like, I think what Dave just said, you kind of had a goal to tell your boss to take this job and shove it, right? Or to F off, maybe?
There you go. So I have a 29-year career in, or had, I should say, a 29-year career in the software industry. Most recently, the last few jobs, I ran marketing for global software companies. So as Scott said, I was traveling around the world. I had a team of people in London and Australia and other places around the country, and working 80 to 100-hour weeks, but yet still doing the note business. As Dave said, I really was going to emphasize that you can do it if you put your heart to it. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but I found time to do it when other people were partying and going out to the pubs in London. I was working on assets,
with a pint in hand from the hotel room bar. Not the
Sometimes we did, yeah. Sometimes we needed that. Not always.
Me too.
Sometimes you don't want to have the pint when you're doing due diligence. Trust me.
So what I want to start off with you guys is let's start with. So we got 5 of you. This could go on forever. But what's one big tip you want to share with those that are sitting there ready to pull the trigger, looking at assets for the first time? What's probably the biggest tip you could give them? And let's start first. Let's go back to the beginning and start with Cody Cox on that. What's one tip of advice you give somebody who's looking at doing their first deal, Cody?
Well, I think you just got to sit down and do it. I mean, the main thing is just sit down and discipline yourself to go through that tape and know what your model is, eliminate the ones that are not part of your model. And the biggest thing I found when I get myself in trouble on a deal, it's because I have went outside my model. So with all of us thinking like we're really business people, this is not a hobby. We have to do this as a business, and just make sure that you've defined your model and stay within those parameters. Because again, every time I've kind of tried to vary outside of that is when I found myself on down the road tripping up and having some problems. So That's the main thing I would say. Make sure you sit down and establish what you're after.
Cool. Stacy, let's jump up to you next and answer that question. What little bit of advice can you give somebody who's brand new?
I would agree you with Cody. You got to jump in and just do it. And then you got to not be afraid of working outside of your comfort zone. You got to do the things, whether you like it or not, to get the job done. And it doesn't take a ton of work to do it. You just have to do it. And, have your schedules every day and have your program every day, and you go through it step by step. It's a step-by-step process, and it works.
All right. Adam, I'm sure you're going to dive in and maybe add a little bit of difference to that, though, huh?
Just do it.
This is not a Nike commercial, okay?
I mean, I still have my first one, and I think I overpaid for it, but I mean, I like it. I learned a lot from it. As soon as you do one, the experience from it, actually doing it, the education level just kicks in high gear, and you'll learn so much more. And once you do it, once you break that little cherry, the others are easy. It's that first one that's the hard one.
Hashtag note virgin is what we're saying now.
Right.
Okay. Dave, what would you
I'm
suggest,
gonna
man?
3 quick bullet points. Network with other note investors, talk to people, get some kind of ROI calculator of some sort, and just get comfortable talking to attorneys. I mean, ROI calculator is big. Networking with other people, and just go ahead and do it, but just get your ROI calculator together and make sure you're accounting for all expenses.
Cool. Wayne?
Well, actually, I was going to, that's a great point, Dave. What I would say is, of course, get started. But one of the things I think everybody, especially when they're brand new, that they get really enamored with a deal and they try and make it work a million ways to Sunday, and they almost get in love with the deal so much so that they get blinders on the deal. And sometimes the best deal you buy is the one you didn't buy. And I will warn you, because I will tell you, my first note ever, I did make money on, but I don't know how, because I literally did everything possible wrong to it. And it was because I fell in love with the deal, not with the numbers, if you will. It was more, what a pretty house. I felt bad for the borrowers. Okay, we now foreclosed, so I have to rehab it. Let's make it look really nice when it wasn't necessary. And yet we made money, but my point is, don't necessarily get so caught up. I saw somebody posted on Basecamp that they were desperate for a deal. Don't be desperate for deals, guys, because you will make mistakes, and that's where you lose money. The second piece, if I may, is just really focus on your due diligence. And all these guys talked a little bit about it, but check your values, work with realtors, run a VPO, not necessarily when you're bidding on assets, but you need to at least have realtors go look at them And then when you get an offer accepted, make sure that the numbers work. Sometimes, as I go back to what I said before, you get so enamored with the deal, you're like, the values aren't exactly what I want, but that's okay. And it isn't. So you need to be careful there.
All right. Wayne, I'm going to start this with you and then filter back through it for you. How is your business different today than it was 4 years ago when you started off?
Well, first of all, 4 years ago it was a hobby. And I will say it was a hobby. I didn't treat it as a true business until probably 3 years ago, with an eye towards getting out of the job. So, and that is okay for where I was back then. But for those of you who want to make it a full-time business, you really do need to put systems in place. I know Adam will talk about that. You need to look at things like where you're going to get capital. And I started out with my own capital against all advice. And I will say that if I could start over, I would have definitely raised more capital in the beginning. My business is evolving tremendously. We're obviously continuing to buy non-performing notes, but we're also smattering in performing notes now to increase our yields. We're also looking where 3-4 years ago I wasn't really considering creating my own paper as an exit strategy. Over the last 18 months, we really have focused in as that is my number one exit strategy, so that we can continue to have annuities going forward and either sell notes later or live on the cash flow.
Sounds good. Adam, you want to chime in? Because you've gone through some changes over the last year, definitely. Now, Adam is affectionately known as the death squad. Most of the bars he's buying, deals he's buying, either it's a death in the family, huh?
I got some dead people. Yeah.
Just a few.
They're dying to modify.
And one convicted murderer.
Oh, let's not forget, yes, female murderer at that, too. How's your business change, Adam?
I mean, I started off buying one note. Now I'm buying, I think I only bought 2 singles during this whole year. I keep buying more pools. I'm liking pools. And now I'm looking at how to, take what I learned in apartments and create those little cookie cutter syndications so that I can create these funds within a few weeks. When I find the deal, I can go get the fund raised and do it that way. Get away from the JV model. I don't mind the JV model. There's just more risk involved with the JV model. If it doesn't pan out, that's it. You might get a home run. That's great, but they're not all home runs. If I can somehow syndicate that, everybody gets the home runs. Everybody mitigates some of the losses. So I think it's safer for the investor. So that's where I'm going now after this year. That's my path.
Cool. Stacey?
No, I think our biggest piece is just trying to make sure we keep tweaking it. You go into some areas and they work out great. You go into some areas, you try it, not so good. You can't, fall in love with that area because it might be next to the beach. You got to move on to where the numbers make sense. And I've been, tweaking our ROI calculator pretty much weekly, trying to get everything into it. And now when I pop the number in, I get a good number, and it's, it's not 100% of a return. It's going to be, 10, 12, 13%. And it makes more sense. So I think really diving into that and making sure you understand and know your numbers.
Right. Cody?
Well, I think for me, it's just getting more comfortable with the whole process. I mean, when I started off, I actually had bought a couple notes before I, became part of the mastermind, but I really didn't know what I was doing. But just within the last year, just defining what I'm doing, being disciplined to come home and do the due diligence that I need to, kind of refining how I do that. So it becomes more just more innate for me. So I kind of have a better understanding what I'm doing. I have a higher degree of awareness about what all the parts are, not only what I'm doing today, but what it's going to be like a week from now, a month from now on that particular note. So there's a lot of learning along the way. And I agree, all 4 of these other guys, well, you included, have all been great resources for me. And so just pull from the resources that are around you, because there's plenty of people that, are of the note family that are willing to help. And so just utilizing those resources and just learning along the way.
Yeah. Dave, anything you want to add?
When we first got started, things were 32, 35, 30 cents a dollar. It's not like that right now. Systems are a big thing. Creating an ROI calculator and adjusting it, building teams in different areas. If you find an area you do like Wayne says, you like an area, you can get good rental numbers when you're REOing it. focusing building teams. I've more and more putting on systems and building teams and find deals that just may not be weird or different or whatever that people don't like. And other ways of finding sources. We're just maneuvering ways, but from 35 cents to now what pricing is now is just different, you know?
Right. I totally agree with that. Adam, could you move a little closer to your microphone? You're a little faint. Somebody was saying there.
Sorry.
There you go. Or just speak up there. That's good. Get up closer. We want to see the nose hair. All right. So, would you guys, we got a question from Jonathan here. In webinars and chat rooms, there are a lot of people who request ROI calculators. Besides figuring out rough ROIs at each stage of a note, when do you need a more detailed calculator? And is it something that each note investor develops by themselves? And I think it's you start with something that's rough, generic, and then you develop it as you go, because each state's going to be different, foreclosure time frames, taxes. What do you guys suggest to that? We'll start with Wayne.
Yeah, I would actually say, I get a lot of questions. Can you send me your ROI calculator? And while to some degree I feel it's kind of my special sauce, if you will, so I don't like sharing it. It's beyond that. It's just if you don't build your own, you really don't understand the numbers. And I will tell you, I think it was Cody who said it, that he's tweaking his ROI calculator a week ago. I was Stacy. I still tweak mine all the time, and you'll be amazed at some of the things when you learn a new nuance to this. You're like, oh wow, okay, that's going to help me for next time. I'm happy to share the idea of how to create your own, but you got to create your own, and it's really, if you're scared of Excel, there's a lot of really simple tools out there. Linda, I forgot what they just get acquired by somebody, but they have all these very inexpensive resources to learn Excel. So if you're scared of it, you really don't have an excuse. Heck, you can even write it down on paper and use a calculator. Although it's not efficient, it might be a good way to start out.
The website he's referring to is lynda.com, which is a lot of free and cheap courses, $1, $9, $10, $99, all sorts of different discounts on that. So lynda.com.
Correct.
Adam?
What's the question?
We'll come back to you then. Stacy, how about yourself, bud? As regard to ROI, would you agree with Wayne kind of have to create your own? Or
Yeah, no, I think you absolutely have to do it on your own, because everybody deals with this a little bit different. Everybody goes down a different path. And then things are important to certain people and they're not to others. So you've got to put in those numbers that you come across. And all of a sudden you find out, hey, this is going to cost me another $100. It's going to do it on every note. So you got to add those numbers in there so you don't get burned at the end.
Right, Cody?
I kind of think the same thing when we first start on this. I'm here. You always have this big generalized number that you want to, but you do have to drill down and change things and get closer. And then one of the things I do is I always calculate on a worst case scenario. So, if it's a worst case, is always going to be a foreclosure. If you can get the number and tweak it to where you want on that, then everything else is kind of like gravy. So that's the way I approach it. But I think it's something, there's a few things that are proprietary for each one of us individually. And I think the ROI calculator, because of the little tweaks that we've done ourselves from our own experience. And I agree with what Wayne said to begin with. You learn more about putting your own thing together than you do just taking something from somebody else. You don't quite appreciate it at the same level.
Right. We're going to ask a question of Adam here. Maybe he'll pay attention this time, which is all right. He's counting numbers in his head, and I think Jen's standing right there too, right? Tell her I said hello. She can peek in. We don't bite. But you've done a really good job about trying to be as lazy as possible, and we all say that in a respectful term of the matter, of different websites, of systems, things like that. You want to talk a little about kind of the development of that for you, Adam?
My 5-year goal is to not work. So I've been really working hard at doing that. And I automate things. That's my key. I minimize the amount of work I have to put into marketing. Put out a post here, a blog there, and I'm pretty much done for the week. I do one email a month, really. I'm starting to do videos, but they're not that hard. 10, 20 minutes making one video, and it's good for a month. I remember me and Stacy were over in California talking to another guy out there, and he was trying to calculate how much money we make an hour, and he said something about what do you say, 160 hours a month times 12 months. I'm like, what? You get 160, man. I mean, I work about 10 hours. No, it's about systems and maybe some habits. I do have some good habits about, writing down the things I need to do on a computer, and then I'll let the computer tell me when I need to do things. That's a habit, but set up the systems to take care of you. That's my thing, and the better I'm at it, the less work I have.
Right. Can one of you guys quick kicking your desk because it sounds like a drum in the background when you are talking. I don't know who it is, but anyway, I want it's your leg. Okay.
Well, I want to jump in. I think you're a great question here because this is one thing is we all talk about ROI calculator being important, and we all talk about build your own. You don't want to see any one of ours because you're not going to understand it at all. Sometimes I get lost in my own. I'm like, wait, where to go? And I'm adding things on, if it's judicial or non. I county publications in different counties, in different states. But I would definitely give the little tidbits here is there's a Fannie Mae site about what it costs for foreclosures in different states. You can grab their fees, call your servicer and say, you had Shante on. Hey, what are typical fees I'm going to incur? Yep. What are situations? Also talk to an attorney in that local state and say, hey, what's your cost to not only what the legal costs are, but what are the court costs? What is it? Do you have to pay the auctioneer at the end? Those kind of things you should put in your ROI calculator. You're not going to share mine. But yeah, I get this question also when I run my webinars. I can't give mine out. It doesn't work. It just, you won't understand it. And it's not fair for you to reach mine. And it just not, I'd rather you build yours. I'll help you understand some little expenses that you may not understand. But servicers, call your servicer, call your attorneys, take a look at the Fannie Mae site for attorney costs, and go from there.
Careful. Saying servicer on Wayne may cause him to turn red, okay?
He likes Shante.
Blue for a reason, okay? I mean, it's dead.
So I want to take it to a different thing there. Let's talk about your favorite states. Or if it's not your favorite states, your favorite kind of deal, if you hit a bread and butter deal. Because I think we all invest in different states. We all have our different strengths and weaknesses because of our team. So, Adam, when we start with you, what are your kind of your top 3 or 4 states that you like to invest in and why?
Well, today, Texas.
It's one. Who doesn't like Texas? Okay, I'm gonna start calling you a blind squirrel because even a dead clock. Because even a dead clock is right twice a day. Yeah, you got pretty. But that all came from networking though on that deal. Can we agree to that?
I didn't find it. Yeah, I'm with Joe and Jamie from Cross Country.
So let's move on to a different. Besides the Texas tape today,
Ohio, Indiana, Michigan. I mean, they all have some nuances that are different in each state that I like. I like Indiana because I can build back all my attorney fees if I try to get legal. If the bar wants to reinstate, well, you got to pay all my legal fees. I can't do that in Ohio. But Ohio, if they get delinquent, I can accelerate the note. So, I mean, which state's better? It just depends on your exit. Michigan, I got all kinds of redemption periods I don't like, but yeah.
But I think you like Michigan and Ohio also because you got a real good attorney that manages both those states, though, too, right?
Yeah, the attorney takes care of me in all those states. I like Missouri. Where else do we go? I got Iowa, but I don't know if I like it.
Too much corn. All right.
I don't know. I saw a ton of corn in Ohio. I've never seen so much corn.
Trust me, Iowa's got a whole lot more there for you. But one thing, you have bought stuff in Flint when a lot of people are like, I'm not going to do Flint. Why Flint?
Someone told me not to buy in Flint. I'm like, why not? And so I started looking at demographics. I started watching it, and I saw jobs moving there. I saw the people stop leaving, and I saw cheap prices. So I started buying stuff. So we bought 19 up in Flint in the last year. And I mean, I can't flip them. I'm not looking to flip them, but they make good rentals. And the people that pay on their note, I mean, it's easy money. But yeah, I mean, just, I don't know. I know no one reads about it, but Lear just broke ground up there. It's a new factory, 600 new jobs. GM just spent $2 billion in Michigan, and about I think $200 million went to Flint. They've already fixed the water. I don't know if anyone saw that story. What's paid, but it's fixed.
Yeah. Wayne, why don't we go to you? Wayne, are you feeling okay? You look like you're about to sneeze there and you went like paralyzed face. You doing all right?
Just listening.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing good. You got me set off on the servicer comment. Yeah, actually, I'm still a really big fan of Florida. I have like 70 notes in Florida right now. And one of the reasons I like Florida is because the values just keep increasing. Yes, it's a judicial state. Yes, sometimes it takes a little longer than 12 months. We've really never seen anything take more than 14 months. I know a lot of people run around going, "Oh my God, it's a 2-year foreclosure." I don't see that, at least with our attorneys that we're working with. I like Ohio still for the same reasons Adam mentioned. We're pretty comfortable with North Carolina as well. For a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is we seem to get a lot of reinstatements in North Carolina. I think that's got to do with the demographics, the military bases, and we are also we're branching out a little bit. We're in 18 states, so I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. I don't want to just be in 50 states. Well, it wouldn't be because of California and New York, but as long as I have a really good attorney and a network of realtors, I worry about property management, and that's really kind of our ecosystem. That if we can get those, we vet those correctly, then I'm okay with going into any of those states. But for someone getting started, I know we always say pick 5 states. I say pick 2. I started with Ohio and Florida way back when, and they've served me well. They're still making us money, and we've branched out as we've gotten more experience, and I feel good about some of the states. I'm in a couple states that I'm like, at least particularly I'm in Memphis. I'm not a big fan of what's going on in Memphis right now, so you can't really sell a house in Memphis. You have to rent it, and while that's okay, the clientele aren't always the best even renters. So we are doing a lot of evictions, and and I really want to sell those off as turnkey rentals, but no one really wants them because it's Memphis, So
you should call my buddy Chris Clothier over there with Memphis Invest.
Yeah, I plan to meet him in a couple weeks when he's down in Dallas. So yeah, it's on the list.
Okay, good stuff there. Cody, what about yourself?
Well, kind of the classic 5 as far as Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, a little bit in Missouri. I'll take a look at things that are in either of the Carolinas. But those are the ones that kind of focus on, again, with kind of still taking the baby steps, if you will, to make sure that I'm, can contain what I'm trying to work on. I just kind of keep them within those levels there. I look for the ones that are always owner occupied because my main model is to try and reinstate. Doesn't always happen, but that's always what I try and go into. I don't want any sort of rentals with what I'm doing. And so, having some relationships with some of the RIA across the country, I try and get into some of the RIAs there for investors that can take those things out once I foreclose on them. So that's just a little side strategy I've got going on because I don't want to hold anything long term.
Cool. Stacy?
I'm probably with most of the other guys. I'm in Ohio, North Carolina, Florida. Florida's been good. We're in Newport Richey, Jacksonville. Jacksonville's been great. There's a lot of new industry coming in there. And it's really kind of watching that where the areas start to build up. That's where you want to be.
Right. Dave?
5 boroughs of New York, Chicago, Illinois. Ohio.
Wait a second. I think he's smoking crack right now real fast. Let's restraight that the other guy. Let's start all over again with your answer there. Give a few people heart attacks out there.
I like Missouri. I'll definitely still buy Tennessee. Ohio is the hot spot because of so much product there. We'll buy Jersey just because we're here. We have bought in the Carolinas as well. Of course, Texas, but I would say those are the top 5. And reason being is either pricing, timelines, or the deal just makes sense. Again, it's nothing to do with anything else, but the numbers make sense. And it goes back to our ROI calculator. And also what I hear from the people in the space when I network with my friends and what we hear is going on.
There we go. Cool. Have any of you had success with hardest hit fund? Just raise your hands. We'll call on it. Okay. Wayne?
We just literally got hardest hit funds on a deal we have in Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama. I'll talk about it tomorrow in my presentation, actually. But the short story is, it's a guy who is disabled. His wife had passed, so hadn't been paying his mortgage a couple years. We met him face to face on our road trip last September, and got him reinstated right away under a forbearance. Went to a permanent loan mod. Was really cool. He actually, not only did he reinstate, he gave us a really nice reinstatement fee. He started paying double payments to try and catch up when he got on disability. And so we explained to him that, you might qualify for hardest hit funds. We'd love to help you to apply. But he did most of the work. We just kind of coached him a little bit with our servicer at the time. And we got the funds when I was on the Alaska cruise. So 3 weeks ago? That was pretty exciting. Now he's completely 100% caught up.
Nice. Wow. That's your one you've gotten. You haven't got any more besides just that one?
That's the only one I've gotten.
Right. I've gotten 4 over the last 2 years. Anybody else gotten hardest hit funds? No. It should not be considered a viable exit strategy for you. It should be gravy, everybody. Okay.
Definitely gravy.
Yeah, definitely gravy there. Okay, cool. I want to take this. You guys all do something different for marketing. And first of all, is marketing important? Can you just raise your hand or no? Okay. Yes. So what would you say is your best marketing tool that you do, and how often do you do it? And we'll start. Stacy, let's start with you.
Our best tool is a combination of our video, which we roll into our bi-weekly email. Our email by far gets our best response.
Cool. And how long were you doing that before you started to see results happen?
It was probably about 3 months, 4 months, somewhere around there. It took a while, a little longer than we expected, but now it's working great.
Were you doing it weekly or once a month?
We were doing it weekly.
Okay.
We were doing it on a regular basis.
And you were building a database at that point because you didn't really have one to begin with, though, right?
We started from zero, and our database now is about 7,000.
Very nice. Very good. Adam, let's go down to you, miss.
Emails, videos lately, and comments on Bigger Pockets. I think those are my best ones. Okay. I send a lot of stuff on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I get feedback and stuff, but I think my best returns are with email.
And how often do you do that, Adam?
I'm just slowing down about 1 a month, maybe 2. I used to do it regularly, every 2 weeks. But right now, when I send an email, it costs me time. About half a day I spend on the phone answering emails.
Shucks. I don't want to talk to people giving me money. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I mean, I have to plan out when I want to send out an email because I got stuff going on there. Like, man, I ain't got time.
You don't have time because you got to the point where you're happy. Now you got to retire Jen, get her home, but you're at the point where your systems are, you're comfortable where you're at. Is that what you're saying?
Much,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Cody, you're working full time. Let's talk about your best marketing tactics.
Yeah, well, I basically do 2 things. Every Sunday night I sit down and write basically an email. I call it an emailer because it's not really a newsletter, if you will. It's basically just kind of what journey I've been on for the last week, what's going on in my business. And I try and approach it a little different than some of the other ones I've seen, not from these guys here, but some of the other ones that are starting out, because it seems a lot of people are just marketing. They've got a deal and they're marketing for a joint venture partner. That's not what I'm looking for, although that's the bottom line of what I'm looking for. But I'm just kind of telling what the business is and what I'm doing in the business and what's out there and what's available and what happened this last week. And so I get that out every Sunday night. I started that about 1.5 years ago because on Sunday nights I always got what I called the Swan days, which basically is that Sunday night before Monday I had to go to work. And so I needed something else to kind of get my mind off the Swan days. And so I send that out every Sunday night. And then Wednesday morning, I look to see who has not opened that and resend that thing out for who hasn't opened it. And each time I send those out, they go on my Facebook business page and my personal page. And then here, I don't know, I guess it was in June or something like that, I started this Friday stroll, just a Facebook video. Were just something that's been playing on my mind for the last week, and just kind of talk about that. It's 7, 8, 10 minutes, and just using that as a Friday stroll. And I upload it into Facebook and upload it into my YouTube channel. And those are the main things, and they've been pretty highly effective. When I started this, a year and a half ago, as far as the Sunday, it took about 6 to 8 weeks, and I got invited over to a small RIA meeting that had normally about 20, 25 people show up. Well, they had 45 people show up because the leader of that meeting had been receiving my emails. And I walked out with about $2 million worth of pledges from that one 45-minute presentation that all came about from email. So those things, and you got to be consistent. That's the thing I find is you've got to be consistent and roll them out. And, part of my goal is to position myself as the promissory note point of contact for the Portland area. We've got some other guys that are trying to enter into the space, but so far that's kind of where I want to be. Is so for Portland's a hard market right now to fix and flip because there's just no inventory and prices are way high. So trying to convince some of these guys to take their capital and invest with me is kind of one of my targets.
Cool. Dave, you do something a little bit different, which is great.
I do a lot of little things. I definitely go and.
Is that what your wife says? I'm just joking. I couldn't help it.
Oh wow!
We can say
good one.
we've drank in a hot tub in Punta Cana before, so we're good on that. We can joke about it. So sorry.
Yes, it's all good.
Lots of little things.
Yes. So I do a lot of little things here. I go to a lot of meetups locally, and I speak to a lot of real estate investors and I relate to them. Hey, have you been a real estate agent? Have you been a real estate investor? Fix and flip landlords, and I can understand the problems. Tired of fix and flipping, tired of the problems with that, tired of landlording. Have you ever tried doing this? And they had no clue. I do run my own meetup. I kind of bring people in. So not only do I walk around to other RIAs and tell them what I do, I also say, you can come meet me next month. And that's a great opportunity for your local market. Even if you get 4 people in the room, those 4 people are interested to know what you do. I answer a lot of questions either online or locally. I go to auctions. I go to actual foreclosure auctions and just talk to people and make the joke that I'm selling to you guys. I'm making money when you're buying for me. I also speak to the agents who I'm on the phone with and say, hey, listen, we're looking at property, blah, blah. And when I'm talking to them, hey, do you know anyone that'd be interested in buying this thing? What do you mean? And I start going into it. And, whoa, what do you mean you do that? And it's done some really cool stuff. But I find the best solution I find is the people are tired of fixing, flipping, or landlording, or whatever, and I can relate to them and tell them what we do. Did I miss anything there? I don't think so.
No, I think you're good there with that for the time being right now. How long have you been doing your meetup stuff? Because you do them once a month, though.
A little over a year and a half now, I think.
Yep.
And I do, it's just bringing people together and networking. This space is so small. It's amazing. So
yeah, it's a good stuff, though. But you do a really good job, though, of gathering information. You're just not getting people together. You're literally, hey, what are you trying to do? What's your goals? How much you're looking to invest? So you really do a good job of mining that information and trying to find opportunities for people to get involved, right?
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
Cool. Wayne?
And Dave does do a good job. Actually, everybody, I'm really impressed with the amount of marketing what you guys do. It's really funny. I'm a marketing guy by trade, and I hate it. I guess the thing I do the most is I promote myself. I guess I go to every meeting there is in town here in Dallas. Pretty much, I'm at. Although I've kind of slowed down a little bit. I was going every 4 or 5 nights a week to some real estate meeting, some investor type oriented event, the IRAs, the RIAs, the fix and flip meetings, and just talking about what I do. And ad nauseum, I think everybody got sick of hearing from me for a while. But when you grab a bunch of business cards, you talk to them, and then you add them into your database and you follow up with a personalized email, and then you just constantly keep saying the same thing. Here's what I do. Here's the kind of money we make. Here's how you could potentially get involved. People start asking you if they can participate. And so from my perspective, that's the biggest thing. The other thing Natalie and I do, although it isn't as procedural as a program, is we try and do, we generally take interesting trips together around a business meeting. Like we were in Alaska a couple of weeks ago on a investor cruise. A year ago, we went to look at all our assets, and we video the whole thing, and we talk through it. And so people can kind of see, exactly. But I think people are interested in the story,
Yeah.
and they kind of start following us. And I get to Scott's little gesture there. I get a ton of people going, "Oh, you're the guy that threw up when you were looking at that house," and it's kind of funny because a year later I still get those comments. And I think that really does help. It puts a personal side to the business as well. That hey, I work hard, but I play hard at the same time because of the note business for me.
Yeah, you've turned your networking into social hour for you too, because it's something you do once a week at least, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. I love it. You guys do something different and it works. It's doing something, unless you get enough done and then you don't do anything like Adam says, which is good.
I don't want to work.
You don't want to work, baby. Don't want to work.
We're lucky he's still showing up here.
We're just lucky he's wearing a shirt. So
Ian asked lucky on that one.
Yeah. We've had a couple speakers log in without a shirt on. We're like, whoa, hang on. Ian asked a good question. In today's market, what ROI percent on an annual basis are you targeting on the front end, and are you seeing those type of returns?
I'll start if you want.
Sure, go ahead.
And it actually has dramatically changed over the last few years. But for us, we target about a 12 to 15% return on every deal, assuming a foreclosure.
Now, wait a second. 12 to 50% to you and your funding partner, to you?
To me. So, for example, every deal that we investigate or every deal that we analyze has to return a minimum of 12 to 15% regardless. Now, if it ends up being 25% or better, that's when we might offer that to a JV partner, because we can show them that we're going to get them about a 12%. But we buy deals where they're 12 to 15% that we're happy buying with that we don't JV on. And it's just because for us, that's a nice number.
All right. Dave?
I would definitely agree with Wayne there. We're shoot for, if you're going to do a JV partner, like 25% return. And I build my ROI calculator to bid it based on a return of that number. So if it's a deal I feel it's a JV partner opportunity for learning, good experience, I'll build that into it. If it's for myself, I'm running the same thing with Wayne. I'm looking for a 15 plus, but I'm also bidding it, making sure that if it performs, that the performing note is actually paid out well too, because we've been in situations where I first bought and performing level was at 7%. It's like, whoa, I should have realized that. And another thing we add to our calculator. So if it performs, make sure it pays out well.
Exactly. Adam?
I'm looking at all the different exits and looking for at least 10%. And that's each, JV and me. But I'm looking for the double digit. That's my minimum. If I get under that, then I usually pass. And I'm looking at the foreclosure. I'm looking at the reperforming. If one of those doesn't hit that mark, then I drop it, move on.
Right. But then you also look long term to hold stuff too on the rental side as a longer drawn out process, though, right?
Rental analysis, I'm going to get the double digit.
Right.
Plus we get the equity. So I see benefits. I know people don't like rentals, but I like to get a mix, mainly because when you have a rental property, you get equity. And I take it I look at it as an apartment guy. I don't see a new roof is costing me my rents for 3 years. I'm going to go refinance that house. The bank's going to pay for the roof. And I'm also going to fix up some other stuff in some other houses, while I got that money. So that's how I do it. But I'm looking for that 10%. That's what
you're using notes, though, to feed your rental portfolio.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Stacy?
Yeah, I'm looking at like 10 to 14 on stuff that we're carrying on our own. And then, in the 24 market for stuff we're going to JV out. Okay.
Cody, same thing for you, bud?
Well, yeah, I'm a little bit more conservative. I'm looking at a 30% on a worst case scenario. That's kind of what I talked about. That 30% would split 15-15. That gives me a little flexibilities in case I miss something, as I, just could have missed something. So that's kind of where I'm at. And everything I've done so far has been with JV partners. So I want to make sure I'm taking care of those guys.
Cool. A question here. Are you seeing sellers care that you offer on larger offerings instead of just one-offs? Or you have sellers that really don't care? Wayne, you want to start with
that? I will tell you get better pricing if you offer on larger pools. not that they're phenomenal either, but at least, and it depends on who the seller is, quite frankly. But sometimes they charge more if you buy more, I think. But to be honest,
just you.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, I get pretty good deals on one-offs too. It just depends on how long they've held it. And if you see the same asset on a tape for a couple months, there's a reason usually. There's some ugliness to the deal, and you have to decide if the ugliness is palatable to you. But ultimately, that's where you can start getting better deals. We try to buy minimum in groups of 5 notes per tape. So whenever we buy anything, somewhere between 5 and 10 per purchase, if you will. Like we closed on 5 today. But normally, I don't buy a lot of one-offs. Maybe 1 or 2 a month, just if it's really nice.
Cool. Adam?
I'm looking at pools. Got new contacts. I think I'm 2 steps away from Fannie Mae now. So I'm looking to do maybe 2 purchases a year. That's it. And they'll be big, but I'll get better pricing, and then I can sit around for 10 months.
4 months and not do anything, right? Nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong. You can go to Aruba, wherever you want to go to. Dave?
When I worked with the fund that I worked for back when I first got started, I found out that most of the pricing wasn't based on this stepping program of you have to buy it based on a percentage of UPB or BPO. It was based on what they bought it for, what they could sell it for. And a lot of times you can get a really bad deal and a really good deal based on the fact they bought it really well. So you can get a great one-off and a terrible pool. It's just different kind of thing. I think what Wayne does, and I think we all kind of do, keeping track of old assets. Mm-hmm. So if you bid on something, it didn't fly through, and you see the next tape, hey, I'm back on this thing. I'm still interested. I'm still my number. But those 2 things is hedge funds got to sell things for a reason. And normally it's just a tail of something you want to get rid of to bring some capital in to buy more. And if they bought it cheap enough, you're going to get it cheap enough. So that's my suggestion to everyone.
Right. I want to ask a question. If you guys started planning, have you ever planned out or started setting goals for yourself for 2018?
I have.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your biggest goal then for your business and then personal for 2018? And Wayne was the loudest, so we'll start with him.
I'm sorry for yelling. For me, my personal goal is to travel more, work less. And to do that.
So it's good that you and Adam are next to each other in Dallas then. You can
right?
get some, yeah.
Well, I don't mind. Adam doesn't want to work at all. I like working still. But no, for me, it's being able to enjoy the lifestyle that this is actually affording me. I've actually been very minimalist over the last 2 years, and so the business that I'm running is paying for me and 2 other families essentially, and the rest of it's kind of gravy. And I love that opportunity. I want to take 1 trip a month next year to some place I've never been, so the bucket list stuff. But from a business perspective, I am evolving it where we're going to be creating a lot more new paper. So I am also looking, like Adam talked about, he likes rentals. I don't dislike rentals. I think there's great tax values to rentals as well. But one of the goals for me is when I create a rental, it's going to be creating paper for me as well. So we're trying to do a lot of owner finance transactions so that I can sell a piece of the note or maybe the first and create a second that I can keep for legacy as well.
Cool. Adam?
My goals for next year, I think the big one, and work less. Trying to get Jen more into the notes and less at W2. And we're actually looking at houses and lakes right now. That's where we are right now, at Granbury. So we can sit on the dock and
there you go.
Rock on the lake, man. That's it. Yeah.
That's a good goal to have. Stacy?
I'm looking to really increase the value in which we're buying our notes at. We've been buying this year a lot of notes that are in that $50,000, $75,000 range, and we really want to get up into the 150 range where we can do less notes and get more dollars. You're doing the same amount of work at a higher price point, and really drive that.
Yes, he wants to work less too, Adam.
Yeah.
I got a hashtag work less. You got to put that somewhere, Adam. Get a T-shirt, okay? Okay. Cody, what about yourself, man?
Well, I think the main thing is just getting to the position that I'm a lot closer to exiting the day job. I think that's one of the things on my list, on our list. But there's a lot of things that got to fall into place before that. And so, just taking those steps to do that. My wife Juana and I, we've got some things that we want to accomplish, and we've got to get solid on a couple of other things. And so, just taking those steps. I don't have a defined number that I need to close. I kind of have a cash flow idea what I want to get. And again, with a lot of these notes, especially when you're buying non-performings, it's got about a 12-month sales cycle. So, you're not always realizing profits until you liquidate. And sometimes that takes about 12 months. And so, I'm just kind of approaching that 12-month cycle on a lot of the deals that I did here a year ago. So that's kind of what I'm trying to move for is, I kind of have a date in mind, but that doesn't mean anything. It's pretty darn flexible.
Cool. Dave?
More networking. I love networking. I love talking to people. You never know what you'll find out. Being out there, being connected, find different exit strategies. You never know a new one that pops up. Just different things happen. I think that the seller finance route is something I want to expand on. So I guess, like Cody says, it's not a dollar amount. It's not how much money raised or how many deals get done. I'm buying the houses that are in the $150,000, $200,000 range, which are fun and great, but the same problems exist. So it's more just expanding my knowledge of real estate and using my notes knowledge to allow me to do that.
Cool. Biggest mistake you guys have made, and what did you learn from it? Adam?
I didn't call code compliance up in Painesville, and I've got this house I'm stuck with. It's cost me money, and I can't even donate it. We're on that third title search, and this one came up with a lien, so I'm stuck with this thing for now. But yeah, if I had called code compliance, I would not have bought this house, and I wouldn't be in this problem I'm in right now. Yeah, code compliance. That's my
Making that extra phone call before you close, then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't always do that. I mean, like Michigan, we can't call code compliance. You have to go fill out the Freedom of Information Act and all that stuff. So we take chances up there. But Ohio, you can call. Yeah, could have.
Cool. Stacy?
I would say the biggest thing is following up with your legal team. We got burned a couple of times or almost burned, and simply just by not following up on a weekly basis.
Just that stuff's falling through the cracks with the attorneys, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, we had one of our assets that actually we had purchased it, and in the interim of the files being transferred over and whatnot, the property had gone through into tax sale. Luckily, we had caught it. We had 2 days left to put in a bid to be able to recoup it back. But the lawyers, we didn't see it. They were notified. I mean, So yeah, let's follow up.
Cool. Dave?
One of the first deals I did, we didn't realize what an assignment of rents were. And we spent an entire year in Ohio for closing and finding out the landlord was collecting rents, which could have paid off the taxes and everything else. We closed the note. We waited 5 months for deed transfer, got back in, got the tenant, and they were telling me where to send check. And didn't realize what assignments for rent was back 2012. That was quite a bit of money that I lost. So
it's a really nice factor when you have that on a contract that you can enforce and take it, because it takes away a lot of the motivation from the deadbeat borrower. Once they get that taken away, they no longer have a free ATM. So
yeah,
that's a good point. Wayne?
I don't even know where to start. I think probably the biggest mistake I've made is getting complacent with servicers, as when you start a servicer relationship, they seem to do a fantastic job, and then they snow you into believing that they're going to continue doing a fantastic job. And if you're not riding them every day, they don't do a fantastic job, and eventually you fire them. And I have gone through quite a few servicers. I now have a newfound appreciation for my job as servicer rider, I call it. I have it on my back. And, that's probably the biggest one, because, I'm out a lot of money in my mind when they, they charge you for services and then they don't really do it. When a borrower is wanting to give a reinstatement and it takes them 3 or 4 months to get those docs over, that's just irresponsible. And when unfortunately we have enough loans that it's easy to overlook on our side too. So that's my bad in my mind. That's the first thing. The second thing is just I mentioned getting kind of enamored with the deal itself, or the and that was an early on issue. Prior to I'm doing it as a hobby, working full time. You're kind of like, oh, I just want this to work. I just want this to work. Like I said, thank God I made some money on it, and it was only my money that I was risking. But in retrospect, I could have done better. The final thing, if I add that, is my biggest mistake was not raising capital sooner.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that, okay? Because that's one of the biggest things people ask about is raising private capital. Now, we kind of hinted at a little bit about what your best marketing thing and that you guys do on a regular basis. Adam talked about how, well, Adam, you do a lot
Sugar
of your
mama.
capital. No, Jen's good. Don't get me wrong. Jen doesn't give herself as much credit because she can talk the business. And you guys do a really good job, Adam, going out to different networking events around your kind of apartment routes, right?
Yeah, I will confess that my first money was apartment money. And actually, I'm getting a lot of apartment money now because all these guys are cashing out apartments and they don't want to put it back. So I got a lot of apartment money buying notes, and that's been helpful. And, there's all kinds of my CPA. They had a little hosting for all the people they do taxes for that are investors, and I got an investor from that. It's networking. We don't go out to as many events as Wayne does, but we go to a few here and there.
Yeah, but you're married, though. He uses it as like a Match.com thing for him, though.
Nice.
Hey, that's nothing wrong with that. I only see because that was a voice of experience here years ago, too, there, Wayne. So seeing you in work, my friend. Stacy, what about yourself? I want to, Stacy, because when I first met you, you and Karen were very kind of introverted. You're still kind of quiet a little bit. Mm-hmm. But you busted out your shell. Kind of talk about, is it more so the marketing and the videos that are helping you raise the capital more so, or you're more extroverted now?
I don't know how much more extroverted I am, but I can talk when somebody asks me a question and we can go through the details and I can usually hook them in at that point. I think the biggest point for us was our YouTube videos and our emails. And with every email now that we send out, I usually, get a handful of calls. People that are looking to do something with their funds, and cool. That's been our biggest piece. So it's an ongoing scenario right now. We just keep doing it.
Rinse and repeat. Cody, you agree? Same thing with what you're doing?
Yeah, same thing. You've got to follow up with the people that inquire with you. And I'm kind of more of a guy that likes to sit down one-on-one, although I've gotten a lot more comfortable speaking in front of groups. But you've got to sit down and explain to them and let them ask questions and kind of tell them, yeah, this is the real deal. Because, sometimes when you show an example that shows it's got a 35% return, a lot of people don't believe that. But when you break down the numbers and show them exactly like, what the numbers are on that deal, it almost sells itself. So you've just got to be able to prepare, the examples and make them understand what you're doing.
Right. Dave?
I always be careful telling people that, like we all say, just because a deal looks good on paper doesn't mean it is, and vice versa. If a deal looks terrible on paper, it works out well. I find my most money come from networking locally, reaching out to my local network, talking to people who are buying properties or rentals or whatnot, and sharing what I do, and they don't have a clue what this is. So just talking to them, I've gotten 2-3 JV partners where I walked in a property and take a look at it, and they're dealing with a rental next door, and they ask me what I do, and I just tell, hey, I'm just doing a drive-by for it, and we're talking. Opening your mouth. I don't do a lot of emailing. I don't do a lot of that stuff. I get out live in front of people who are struggling with real estate for whatever reason and say, listen, this is another option. And most of the time they have never heard of it. Even if you don't live about it, just talk the fact that you understand it and tell them, emailing more information. You jump on some video that Scott put together and say, listen, learn a little bit more and go back and talk to them. You're your local contact for that person. I've talked to Wayne about this. It's amazing the money around you that people are buying real estate that don't know anything about this, who are getting burnt left and right constantly. But yeah, network locally is my best avenue.
Have any of you guys gone on to a rival or another A&E special and networked at those events? Like gone in as a secret agent to network with other investors that are going through a fortune floaters or fix and flop or anything of that aspect, or no?
Every week.
Yeah, right. No? Yes?
So
Yes.
I do my little apartment bus tours every 2 months. No one on those buses cares about notes, but hey, what do you do? We buy notes. What? Tell me more. And I get their card and I got them.
Right.
You stand
I
out.
would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, we heard a couple people talk about rentals or turning their REOs or properties into rentals. You guys, what's one of the biggest tools that you guys have found to finding RMLOs to help you originate that paper? Wayne?
Well, I started out using my local attorney recommendations for the regions, but I've actually, over the last couple of months, really evolved to one national firm who actually spoke last time, right? Ben, he did speak last time. And so, and one of the reasons is they're licensed in every state. It makes it, I kind of now know that all my contracts are going to look exactly the same. Which is critical if you're trying to sell your performing loans to institutions. They want to see a certain set of criteria. They want to see a certain credit score for the borrower. They want to see the loans look a certain way, and so that way I get consistency to do that. I'm not necessarily selling all of them, but if I ever need the opportunity to do that, I don't want to take a big haircut later on because the paper isn't what institution thinks it is.
Makes sense. Who else? Dave, are you using any owner finance stuff? Adam?
Yeah, I still use my local attorney. So the areas we're buying at, it's just been my avenue. I haven't really needed to go nationally. So that's probably my reasoning. I've only done 2 states, so I really don't deal with the national wide. But as we grow, if I go that route, then I'll definitely look and I'll be giving Wayne a call and say, hey, can you help me out? Again, networking in the space is big.
Question for you: are you guys all buying institutional paper or bought any owner finance paper?
I have bought some performing loan owner finance paper. Not a lot, but a couple. We're looking for minimum 12 to 15% yields when we do that, and that's really more for my personal portfolio, not so part of the business. But we're evolving a little bit because I do like the cash flow, so we may end up buying some in the business as well.
Okay, cool. What about contract for deeds? Any of you guys buying contract for deeds? Dave, is that yes?
I haven't yet. I've been tempted by the guys in this webinar to jump in. That we've talked about this extensively, and I've been extremely interested. The problem I find is the value. I don't like buying anything under 30,000 value, period. And a lot of CFDs are under that. I'd rather, if I'm going to buy a CFD, buy it above 50. And there's not a lot of those kind of price points. I know I'm sure Wayne will talk about it, the success in CFDs are really, really good. And they're just easier than seconds. But they're price point of seconds. So that's my 2 cents of CFDs.
Wayne, you want to respond back to that?
Well, yeah, I was actually going to say I haven't bought a single CFD this year. I bought a bunch of them last year. Ton of them actually, and one of the reasons I'm not buying them right now is just because of the uncertainty of the CFPBs crawling in the shorts of each of the major CFD players. I want to see how that pans out. I mean, we own a bunch, and as Dave said, when they actually reperform, a lot of them will reperform. It's a significant percentage. We got 80% of the CFDs we bought last year that reperformed, and quite frankly, it's because the payments are pretty low and the people don't have a lot of options. You go, if you can't pay $350 for your house, how are you going to rent it at $800 a month for your family? Mm-hmm. It's a pretty simple decision. You either want to live in your house or I don't know where you're going to go. But when they don't reperform, they're disasters, and generally that's because these people trash these houses out. They're not exactly high value properties to begin with. And we found if we want to do the rehab, it's a $20,000 rehab.
All right. Adam, you want some?
Yeah, about a lot. But before I buy, I always, I got teams. And they'll do the drive-bys and they'll say yes or no. That's all I'm looking for, yes or no. They'll tell me how much I should pay, if anything at all. So when they say no, I walk away. I don't even glance at it. So we've had some pretty good ones, actually. I think most of my rehabs have been 10 grand and under, or the stuff up in Michigan, but it's cheaper rehab in Michigan too. Get down to Indiana, I'm paying an extra 10 grand. So I might be up to 20 grand in Indiana. But yeah, I've made a lot of money on PFD.
Stacy, you bought any?
I bought my first one about 3 weeks ago, and we're working on a modification now. So
there you go, Cody.
There
you go, Cody. No.
No, I haven't done any yet. I've taken a look at them, but I haven't bought any yet because I've been real careful with my investor money.
Okay.
I will say this,
go ahead, Adam. What was that?
I will say this: you need to know the rules on.
Yes.
Right.
Every state's different. Some states are illegal. Just don't go buy blindly. Go find out the rules first.
Huge, definitely. So I heard that teams are important, marketing is important, your servicer is important, and doubly important for Wayne because he doesn't want to have an aneurysm. All right. You can do this business whether you're full-time as it or a full-time employee or just a lazy person. You can do this business though too, right?
Yeah.
I say that we all say that respectfully. There's no we love it, right? I'm very proud of a lot of you guys. So what's one thing that if you would tell somebody right now who's brand new to this, what's one thing you want to tell them? And we'll leave it at that. What's your final thoughts?
Network.
Okay, Dave says networking.
Investors.
Okay, networking. Talk to people. Pick up the phone. You guys are all pretty relatively open about answering phone calls and talking with people for a few minutes. Not an hour to waste your time, but call, pick your brain for 10 to 15 minutes. Is that right?
Yep.
Cool. Wayne, what's one thing you want to leave people with before we kind of wrap it up the panel here?
I think you need to set your goals for where you're trying to get. And I think that's real important. When I first started, I really didn't have the goals in mind. It was more of a hobby. I had an event that caused me to kind of dabble in notes, but it really took me realizing I hate my job and what am I going to do to get out of the job, to some of the other guys' points. And when you do that, that kind of helps you set a set of goals that you can march to. And then constantly reevaluate them as well. Why am I not making the goals if I'm not? Or if you are making the goals, maybe you, as I've learned, maybe you didn't set the goal high enough in the beginning. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Awesome. Adam?
I would say if you're going to dabble, I would play with performing notes first. Get one or two. If you're going to buy non-performing, I would get in and dedicate your knowledge to non-performing. There's so much to learn about it. Every state's different. Every exit strategy is different. There's so many things. Don't just say I'm going to do it and go buy a note and not do your research, and dedicate yourself to it. Basically, that's what I'm saying.
You're saying not be a shiny object chaser? I'm going to do some rentals. I'm going to do some fix and flips. I'm going to do some wholesaling. I'm going to do some notes. I'm going to do some of this and do that. You say not to do that? What?
I've seen a lot of people that get started. I want to do non-performing notes, and then 3 months later, I'm going to do partials.
Yep.
Later, hey man, I got rentals. Hey, I got REOs. Just figure out what you want to do and focus on it and learn it. Learn it all.
Learn it all. Stacey?
Yeah, I would say first get the education, and then buy your first note because you're going to learn more from that than anything else. And if you need to, hook up with it and get a JV partner, so that is willing to give you a little information as you go.
Sure. Is that Cody?
I would say build your teams. You can't do this job by yourself, and it's one of the hardest things I've had to do is be able to let go and delegate. But you've got to build your teams and know that your family is important, that the family is going to have to support you, and they do. And then just talk to folks. I mean, like I said, the other guys that are on this panel, I've called them multiple times and used them as resources. So there are resources out there, and don't ever expect that you can do this by yourself.
I want to also just make sure that a lot of new people get this a lot when I talk to them. If you get a tape in your email, make sure you know that they are the seller. I get so many times, we all get it. Hey, I'm direct. Hey, I don't care if you're direct. You are the principal, you're not. I don't, unless I know they're a true broker and they've dealt with something, I don't look at those tapes. I talk to the people. There isn't a lot of a million sources out there. Just be careful what tapes you got, and don't pass them out because we've seen tapes 3 times 3 years later.
With
I
that
think
in
I got
mind,
some of Wayne's stuff today that was that I saw 6 months ago. Just joking, Wayne.
but with that in mind, though, you can pretty much figure out a joker broker if they're
Yeah.
asking for proof of funds.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never been asked for proof of funds ever when
Ever.
buying a deal. Ever.
No, never.
The only time I've had that was when I was funding a major trade from a major bank. They wanted to see that stuff before we went under contract. And that's the only time I had to put up earnest money as well. But I agree with you. Most of the time, if you're buying one-off or small trades or stuff like that, they don't care. They just want to know the money's coming from somewhere, but they're not going to ask for proof of funds in the front end.
Yeah, I do the proof of funds and also say who's a servicer on this stuff. I kind of ask questions that they should know. Who's a servicer? Where's your collateral file?
Mhm.
That's something that due diligence doesn't immediately need, but new people could ask that question. And most time they don't have the answer. It's something they don't know, they own or whatever. So be careful of that.
Exactly. Question for you guys. Have you guys all filled out the survey for Note Camp?
Yes.
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 Do the survey.
Yes.
So Dave's going to not get anybody's contact information. That's why he was trying to do his own yesterday. I see how it is.
I try hard.
Go ahead and fill it out. Trust me. It's
All
what
right.
because you want people to be able to reach out to you. Hopefully.
Absolutely.
There you go, my friend.
Absolutely.
There you
Well,
go.
thank you very much. This has been awesome.
No
Yeah.
problem. Guys, thank you. Appreciate all that you taking time on your busy Friday night. I know it's cutting into Wayne's date tonight, but that's okay. He's got a steady girl now, which is good. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
Total change, but we can talk about that soon.
You guys all do a great
Is-
job. Thank
yeah.
you so much for always being sharing. Thanks for being here. And make sure I got your right address in the survey so we can send you something we've got planned for you. So everybody that's listening out there, you're watching the replays. All these guys got big hearts. All of them do a really great job. They all have their niche that they've tied into. They have all their business models they run with. Yeah, there's some crossover, but I think that the most underlying thing that they'll tell you is be serious about it. Go freaking do it and network like crazy. And raising capital is a lot easier than you think it is. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
good
Great.
stuff, guys. Good
Thanks,
stuff.
guys.
So you're welcome. Thank you, guys. I think will we see you guys all up at the Note Expo in a couple weeks?
Yeah,
Yep, I'll do
we'll
that.
be there.
All right, Dakota, you're not flying out.
No, can't do it. I got to go to Denver next week for the Mortgage Bankers Association.
Well, you
National-
better get some servicing contacts there and get us some
There we
tapes.
go.
Then.
There we
All
go.
right.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on, man. So, all right, guys, we are going to take a quick 12-minute break. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back. I've already seen our keynote speaker tonight, Scott Duffy, jumping in for us. You're going to love what Scott has to share. He's going to talk about going from from Tony Robbins to Richard Branson, how to think big, overcome obstacles, and build the life of your business. And Adam might want to stay awake for this one. All right, brother? We'll see you guys, and we'll see everybody back in about 10 minutes, everybody. All right. Bye.
Take care.
Yeah.